Now we're going to change completely topic, and we are going to go through technology and the adult industry. So we have the pleasure of having here the co-founder of Spankchain, Janice Griffith. That's a company with the goal of destigmatization of adult industry. So big applause for Janice.
Hello! My name is Janice Griffith. You might recognize me from somewhere, but before I continue, can I check in with everyone that you're all over the age of consent to see some sexually suggestive material? Can I get like a verbal yes that we're all okay with this? Yes? Okay. Like I said, you might recognize me from somewhere. This is me. This is what I do for a living. I'm an adult performer and co-founder of Spankchain. Spankchain serves to create a crypto-economic infrastructure for the adult industry. So, this is what we do. The adult industry faces a lot of issues. I'm going to talk about them. Sound good? What is pornography? Pornography is the same sort of, what do you think of when you think of porn? People having sex on camera. But it's more than that now. It's live phone sex operators. It's live streaming campsites. It's all of these sort of things that exist under the realm of sex work. Pornography has a lot of issues in it, in that we're a reflection of the outside world. We face a lot of stigma. People say that pornography is racist, pornography is sexist, pornography demeans women, and realistically, we're a mirror of the society that we exist in. It's not that porn is inherently any of these things, but that we reflect what society exists as. So, I'm not trying to say that, oh no, can't help being racist, sorry. But rather that pornography isn't a monolith, it's a medium, and it exists in many different ways. Along with this sort of sex industry existence is the cultural stigma of having sex. Sex is an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. We're very ashamed of it. It's sort of a Puritan ideal, even though it's 2018 and sex is everywhere. Sex sells everything. Somehow, porn is still bad, and we have this idea of people who watch pornography as outcasts from society, living in their mother's basement, and that's just not true. I bet a lot of people in here watch porn. I bet that a lot of you even continue to watch porn, even if you, only watch, or you watched it once and you're like, maybe this isn't for me. Anyway, pornography. So, how does blockchain tie into all of this? In sex work, there is a need for a certain level of discretion. It's one of the main desires of people who consume it. You don't want it showing up on your credit card statements. You don't want it showing up in the mail. You don't want the person you live with or whatever to see it. This goes in with the shame that sort of surrounds the industry. And blockchain serves to provide a sort of anonymous transaction type situation for things that usually require a lot of personal information, like your credit card statement, your legal name, your billing address, all that good stuff that you don't necessarily want to share with someone. What does Spankchain do? So Spankchain started with, trying to solve the scalability problem of Ethereum, and in the attempt to solve it, we were like, oh my god, you know what this would apply to? Porn! Imagine you could build an economy or an ecosystem that works without having to provide all of this information. You can do one-click payments and buy a video or tip a live cam model or, stream something. And make it happen almost instantaneously. What makes us different? So, did I skip it? Okay. Sorry. So, there are a lot of sort of blockchain projects that are trying to do things in adult. What makes Spankchain different, you know, in my opinion, is we care about our community. I'm a sex worker. I've been a performer for almost 5 years now. So in porn years, I'm actually dead. We acknowledge that to serve a community, you have to listen to that community. You can't speak over the people who exist in it already. It's like going up to a nurses union and being like, okay, here are all the things that you need. And the nurses are like, actually, we just need more gloves. And they're like, but how about instead of gloves, we give you this? And nurses are just like, but actually, we just need gloves. The adult industry works in a similar sort of fashion. Everyone wants to save us or give us something that we never really asked for. In an adult, we're begging for people to give us payment solutions. And people want to give us money. People want to give me money all the time. And it's really hard because I can't accept it. It's a very silly problem of someone wants to give money, someone wants to accept money, and no way to make that transaction occur. It's a very silly thing. So one of the issues with the adult industry and the outside world is that it's hard for us to trust people because of that savior complex or ideal that people in the sex industry can't possibly have, you know, autonomy or ideas about their own selves. It's hard for us to trust people outside because they often speak over us. But disenfranchised and marginalized people are always speaking up, and it's important to listen to them. And at Spankchain, we have, I think, 3 sex workers on our core team. So it's really awesome because we don't just reach outside for input, but we have it right, you know, at our very heart of being. And I'm a co-founder. I'm a performer. I know what I need best, and I know what my industry needs. So, how? Because we listen to the community we want to serve. I sort of already said, you know, these bits that it's hard for us to accept payment even through third-party processors. Why is accepting payment so hard? Realistically, a lot of these come down to puritanical terms of service. Like, you know, when you sign up for something, you're like, yeah, I read and I accept all these terms of service, whatever, whatever. Within those, it basically says that it's at their discretion to do chargebacks, prohibit payment, or freeze and hold funds. So sex workers can't use a lot of traditional payment services just because people think that sex is icky. That sucks, right? Pornography is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And imagine how much more money we could make if people that wanted to pay for it could. Here's a list of some, you know, very well-known processors and platforms that discriminate against the adult industry. We have Chase Bank, Bank of America, Square Cash, First Choice, Stripe, Google Wallet, Coinbase, Amex, Venmo, Amazon, Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. So all of these platforms have discriminated against sex workers in some way. I've been kicked off of Twitter. I've been kicked off of Instagram. I've been kicked off of Facebook. We don't have a lot of places where we can exist, which is funny because sex sells everything. Everything. Think about, you know, the last ad that you saw that really stuck with you. I'm sure it was sexually charged somehow. It's disheartening to know that so many people don't want to accept our money, even though a lot of these payment processors will partner with larger sites and accept payment there. So a site like Brazzers or something can use Visa, but I, as an individual performer, can't because I'm too high risk. So, can this be done on chain? Like, how are you going to fix all of these payment processing problems? Yes, it can be done on chain. You know, doing multiple micropayments or microtransactions, and let's say tipping a live streamer, like, you know, cam girls. Everyone sort of familiar with that concept? Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. So, the idea is we created a solution to the scalability problem of using the Ethereum network and doing everything on the chain. So, the answer is obviously state channels. But the reason that it can't be done on chain is because gas costs are too high and the transaction times don't necessarily work. If I'm tipping a cam model and it takes 4 minutes for my transaction to go through, that doesn't work when they're live streaming. It should be as close to instantaneous as possible. Same with basically anything that you would want to buy, like buy porn in. If you buy a video, you don't want to wait 5 minutes for the video purchase to go through. You want it when you want it. Like I said, state channels! It's our solution and how we're fixing the scalability problem for not only the adult industry, but in general for the Ethereum network. So we're taking as much of the computation off-chain as possible to speed up the transaction times and just make it usable. It only makes sense for everything. It's hard for me to not generalize in such an easily applicable idea. You know, people want porn. People want to buy porn. We want to make it easy for people to buy porn. And pornography has been, I might be a bit glib saying this, but it's been the #1 innovator for technology, you know, in human history. From VHS to DVD to internet streaming, it all came from the desire to watch pornography. Cameras got better because people wanted porn. Like I said, multi-billion-dollar industry. The numbers are like, you know, there's no real definitive answer for how much of the internet is porn. I've looked, I've tried. It's anywhere from 4 to 37% of the entire internet. Even with a number as small as 4%, that's a lot of the internet when you think about it. It's ridiculous that we don't interact with the adult industry more. It's ridiculous that we're kept secret from the rest of the world, or we're guilty pleasures that no one wants to admit to, and therefore no one wants to help innovate in. We're seen as weirdos and outcasts or perverts and delinquents when it's really not the case. I'm not a coder. This doesn't actually make sense to me, but it's a diagram of our state channel system, and maybe it'll make sense to you. I'm here more for the adult industry side of things. I'm here to make sure that our needs are accurately relayed to the team. I'm here to engage with the community and bridge the gap between tech and adult. It's really important to work together to create a better society. And that means not really leaving anyone behind, no matter what you do. So, what makes us different? We made stuff that you can use. So we launched CryptoKitties in January of this year. I think you might recognize the homage to CryptoKitties. So it's a direct tipping platform to tip models' titties. And it goes straight to their wallet. And it's sort of a ranking system. It's cute, it's funny. It was more of a, look, we made something kind of idea. We've also just launched our beta campsite called Spank.live. And I have some stats for you there. Our beta! So we launched a private beta on April 1st, and these are our stats up until today. We have 158 unique streamers or performers that, stream on our platform. 1,852 people created wallets to use for our platform, and 74.275 ETH has been tipped using our campsite. So that's all sent to models that are streaming. They've made that much money. And this is 15,000 plus unique tips, which is why the micropayment system comes in. Camming is a really big part of the adult industry in this day and age. People want to interact directly with their favorite models. People want to feel special and unique. And micropayments are really the only way to make this a reality. And realistically, people love streaming anything nowadays. So, this is what's next for us. I'm going to talk a little bit about why working with the adult industry is so vitally important for, how do I say this? The benefit of humankind as a whole? I'm being serious though. If you think about it, everyone watches porn. Everyone interacts with pornography on some level. And there's a lot of negative opinion that surrounds pornography when it's not really necessary. We contribute more to society than people will ever really recognize. And I'm feeling wistful, just wiping away a single tear. But bridging the gap between adult and sort of the mainstream world is really important when there's so much segregation and separation existing in the world. We should all be working together to innovate rather than, working separately and then convening afterwards. So what's next for Spankchain is we're launching a clip site similar to the likes of ManyVids or Clips for Sale, and releasing an SDK for Payment Channel Hub and in-browser wallets, so other sites can integrate with their platform seamlessly, and APIs for third-party developers to easily build their own dApps. So we try to be as transparent as possible. We try to give back to the community as much as we can. We know that when we contribute to the ecosystem as a whole, everyone benefits, including ourselves. We want innovation. We don't just want to be the best. We want better for everyone. The benefits of accessibility. So one of the huge benefits of blockchain tech in general is that it creates accessibility. It removes a lot of the gatekeeping that exists in the industry right now. There are people who are amateur content creators who can't make their own websites because they don't have a payment processor that will accept their transactions because they're too high risk. There are people who suffer at the hands of this discrimination when there's no real need for it. Many sex workers are overwhelmingly people of color, queer, disabled, or otherwise disenfranchised, and sex work gives them a way to take agency back and be their own boss and decide how they're seen in the world. So by giving people access to technology that makes them more in control of their finances, more in control of their content, and therefore in control of themselves. It's distributing power, because accessibility is power. Like I said, removes obstacles are used for gatekeeping and enforcing discrimination. And sex positivity benefits everyone. And when I say sex positivity, I mean real sex positivity. I want you to have sex with as many people as you feel comfortable with, if that's 1,000 or if that's 0. If you never want to have sex, I respect you and I'm here for that. If you want to fuck all the time, I respect you and I'm here for that. But we need to sort of accept this as a society and work together. Like I said, it benefits everyone. By distributing technology in a way that makes it accessible, it legitimizes the desire for sex and sexual content. Back to this idea of someone living in a basement, jerking off, just watching porn. It's not a reality. I want people to feel comfortable admitting that they watch pornography. I want it to be more a topic of general culture. I don't want people to sneak around with their porn. You should be proud that you like sex, or proud that you enjoy things, or if not proud, at least not ashamed. Shame doesn't serve anyone, except the government. When we remove so much of this shame from the conversation, we improve health, wellness, and the human condition in general. People really hurt themselves, either intentionally or unintentionally, due to sexual shame, stigma, or even just being a sex worker. For a lot of people, it's a choice that they make because it's the only thing that works for them. And to be further ostracized from society for making a choice that works for you is silly. So, I always smile when I think about this, but my favorite part about Spankchain is that we regularly engage with our community. We're on Discord, we're on Reddit, we're on social media, we interview cam models, we attend adult industry events, we donate to sex worker-run nonprofits. We really care about making the world a better place, but in a very genuine fashion, and also making content accessible. This is for happy spanking, but I'm going to talk a little more. Oh, wait, how much time do I have? He has a mic back there, and he was starting to speak. He's tapping it. I promise I'm not just waiting on nothing. Well, I guess I'll just keep talking until he tells me, right?
You can speak how much you want.
Well, thank you. Well, what the heck time is it? Okay. I wonder if I missed anything. I'm sure I did, but I'll take questions while I mull over things I may have missed. Is that okay? Someone give me a hand signal from back there. Yeah? Okay. Should I just pick people? Are you going to give them a mic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So please raise your hand if you want a question. I'm more than sure that there will be at least 20.
So my question would be, how do you handle the free porn industry? I mean, there's a lot of free porn out there, and now you give them a platform and you want somebody to pay for something that is available for free. So how do you handle that, the competition between that?
Well, not all porn is free. And there's a lot of porn that is free, but there's more content that exists behind a paywall. And I find that people are a little pickier than they tend to admit with their pornography choices. And tons of people pay for my porn. Even though I have a lot of it up for free, people go out of their way to choose to send money. It's a desire, especially when things like FinDom exist, financial domination. People get off on sending models money. So it's not necessarily a competition, but the piracy of the adult industry has definitely affected the way that performers make money. There's a lot less money in the industry for performers than there was before, even though there's more money overall. Piracy is wrong, though. You know, like, we all kind of know that piracy is wrong. We know how copyright laws work. We understand what a DMCA takedown is. And the quality of pornography, when you pay for it, is amazing. Have you ever seen a butthole in 4K? Also, a lot of the porn that you see is just a preview of what's actually paid. A lot of sites have partnership agreements with things like Pornhub for like a 10-minute preview of something that's really 30 minutes on, you know, their paywalled site. So not really a competition. Plus, we want to work with everyone anyway. We want everyone to have access to this technology. No more gatekeeping.
Okay. I like the idea in general.
Wait, I'm looking for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, great idea, and I think the micropayments will be useful for non-porn related stuff too. But how do you plan to avoid legal problems? You know, there are very different legislations, there are different laws regarding what you can show, what kind of content. And do you plan to fly under the radar, or do you expect to have some kind of legal problems?
We actually have a team of, you know, we have a legal team like any company should have. And two of our lawyers are actually adult industry veterans who are specific to the pornography industry. We plan to be fully compliant with everything that we do. There's no reason for us to fly under the radar because we're not actually doing anything illegal. There are, in the United States anyway, which is where we're based, local obscenity laws, and currently we follow a sort of blanket federal version of that. That way we're not, you know, arguing with anyone on a small level, because in some states I'm trying to think of a ridiculous obscenity law, but I'm sort of drawing a blank. In some states, you can't show period blood. So that's actually one of the issues that some adult industry sites face using major payment processors. Period blood in pornography would actually help normalize the idea that, you know, you can still have sex even when someone's bleeding. Naturally bleeding, not like a bloody bleeding for any kind of injury. But because these obscenity laws exist, we're going to follow them. We plan on being completely compliant, and we are completely compliant in everything that we've released as of right now. There's no reason for us to want to fight with the law. And like I said, I live in the US. We show tons of shit on the internet. Freedom of speech, man.
Hi. Even though Spankchain seems to solve a lot of problems, you still would want to convert users to real money at some point. And I imagine that you face the same challenges there. You would need someone who pays you out the real money. Isn't that the same problem, but just at another point?
Yes. It is. Okay. Let me mull this over for a moment. So, right now we suggest that our models just use an exchange program. Like, I'm not going to name any, but we all know what an exchange is. Yes, people will have to convert to fiat at some point, but ideally, when we move to a decentralized world and we don't have to deal with everything in fiat anymore, that's a non-issue. But realistically, at least in CAM model sites, they already have to transfer their money into a different kind of currency to cash out. Models usually get tipped in tokens or some phrase that's similar to a token, and each token is let's say 5 cents of a US dollar. So models get tipped in tokens, and then they have to cash out to fiat. And they can actually cash out, to whatever country they live in, their local currency, but it's already something that people have to do. They have fake money that they turn into real money. So it's just another, bump in the road. It's not something that I see being a huge issue, because when you think about the volume of incoming payments when people don't have to submit credit card information, when people don't have to give you their legal name. So I released a fleshlight that you can buy. And the question that I receive the most is it discrete shipping? Will this show up on my credit card statement? Every other message that I receive online is, how discrete is this? And if you can pay with crypto, no one really asks, oh no, my wallet address is on the internet, whatever will I do? It's not the same as your legal name being out there. So the influx of the amount of transactions would heavily outweigh the struggle of converting to fiat. Short answer.
So one of the things that we see very often is that pornography is used as the excuse to push greater censorship. So in the UK, for example, they are pushing for laws that will put all pornography behind a wall, where you have to verify using a convenient credit card by Visa or MasterCard before you're allowed to access it, because think of children. What you're talking about here is exactly the opposite, so being able to provide anonymity. Do you see any other challenges there where some governments, for example, are pushing for greater visibility of who can access, to say no one under 18? But then here with this, we're talking about being able to just go in and buy it and access.
Well, for the record, our site has a 2257 compliance, which is where you have to agree that you are over the age of consent in whatever your local jurisdiction is to view the content, and that everyone that you're viewing is also over the age of consent. It's not pornography's job to teach children, and it's not our job to parent children. And the idea that the government wants to censor them so that you use a credit card just sounds like convoluted capitalism to me, if we're being honest. In the United States, people argue that kids are learning about sex from porn. And my rebuttal is consistently, why don't we have sex education in schools instead? It's not our responsibility to shoulder this weight of what are the kids doing, what are they taking from this. I don't see people arguing that Fast and Furious movies should replace driver's ed, or that kids shouldn't be allowed to watch them because they're going to race cars, or violent video games that teenagers can play and kill people in a variety of ways, or movies where people get killed or kill in a variety of ways. You know, there's violence and corruption everywhere, and pornography is often the scapegoat of a government or society trying to be like, well, you know, if we get rid of this, everything will be okay, and the kids will stop, and it'll all be fine. It's not realistic. And that's what I mean by a greater societal benefit from the access to pornography and making it a topic of conversation for normal people. Like this, we're having this conversation, we're learning about each other, we're understanding each other more, and I'm sure that everyone will walk away from this being like, you know, I have a more neutral stance towards pornography now, because it is an inherently neutral thing. There's good porn, there's bad porn, there's all kinds of porn, just like there are good photos and bad photos. It's just people having sex. it's not our job to teach anyone, even though, honestly, a lot of pornographers have taken on educational roles to try and teach people about their bodies, about their sexual health, about getting tested. As a performer, I get tested for STIs every 2 weeks. I do a full panel, and I know my status at all times. When was the last time any of you got tested for STDs? You should definitely go get tested, just by the way. It's for your health. It's for everyone's health. But having this conversation means that we're learning about each other. And we're just people. We're all just people trying to be okay in a really sometimes scary world. And we should be embracing each other, not separating each other. Hey.
Hello. First of all, you're fucking awesome. Thank you for normalizing sex and reducing the taboo from period blood. And I wanted to ask you, what has been the feedback for Spankchain? So I'm sure there's a lot of positivity from fellow sex workers as well as individuals that do want to pay. But what about from providers as well as scam websites who may maybe want to share or who may want to not allow the sex workers to get the cash or whatever that they deserve?
So, one of the things with Spankchain that I really like is a lot of these campsites take about 50% of someone's earnings. We take less than 5%. That's our thing. You deserve the money earned. Whatever. We go to adult industry events and performers. It's funny because I love our onboarding process. We've gotten hundreds of people into crypto just that I know personally because they're like, oh, I can accept money this way? Okay. One of our biggest things is that you don't necessarily need to know all of the bells and whistles of how cryptocurrency works to utilize it. I don't know how fiat works, and I use that every day. You know, I don't necessarily understand inflation or currency exchanges, and I still have to use it. So models realize that they can accept payment for this, and they're like, sign me up, I want to make more money. And we've talked to a lot of websites, and I even did a panel on cryptocurrency and billing at X's, which is like a big adult industry platform. And everyone is a little bit old, I'm not gonna lie. People are, you know, aging in the adult industry, and they're like, I don't know what this Bitcoin stuff is. But we tell them, we're like, hey, you could accept more money. And they're like, oh, we could do what? Realistically, you just have to paint things in a way that they can understand, in a way that's palatable to them. Which is why I'm here talking about the real world stuff and to the community, and not just what we're technically doing. They don't care about what we're technically doing. They ask, will that make me more money? And we say yes. And they're like, cool, let me know when I can install it. So our feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. You know, we make mistakes like anyone, but my biggest comfort in working at Spankchain is we're willing to acknowledge our mistakes and fix them. And we're always listening to the community. We have an ear to the ground, and we care. We give a shit. We want people to be happy and everyone to make more money. Does that answer your question? So, like websites? Okay.
I don't know if you could hear me, but I was going to say, so I wanted to know more like the provider side. So if campsite, like you said, takes about 50%, and then you're saying, oh, we only take 5%, then wouldn't they be feeling a little bit threatened and feeling like they don't necessarily want to have a competitor in the field that's only taking 5 times less than they are, right? Or 10 times less than they are?
Yes, but the idea is that they're using fiat for all of that, and we're using cryptocurrency. So again, there would be more payments and more money because people are more inclined to use it due to the anonymity and discretion involved. And we want people to use our technology. We don't necessarily have to compete pornography. We're just showing you that it works.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Totally.
So, King's question over here.
Yes.
Is it working offline? Because I have a huge problem on Oktoberfest that they will never accept credit cards and so on. And if I could use one wallet for paying for beer and the other things, and it would make it totally normal.
Well, I don't think so. I think we're talking, like, I'm pretty sure our deal is an in-browser wallet that you're using, you know, just to pay for stuff there, not something like Coinbase or whatever that you can just pay in person. Also, I don't know what the legalities are in alcohol sales, and I'm not even going to touch that one.
Hi. You were addressing the regulations on the content side. Are you also dealing with regulations on the money transmission license parts and these kind of things, banking license?
So we are dealing with compliance, you know, legislation in the United States. There isn't too much right now based on, you know, like involving blockchain technology, but we plan on being fully compliant. I don't see any reason that we wouldn't be unless they outlaw cryptocurrency. But in the US, we actually do have something called FOSTA-SESTA, which is the Fight Online Sex Traffickers Act, which actually overwhelmingly hurts consensual sex workers that, you know, escort. And that has actually made a lot of sites worry about the kind of content that they're hosting. We plan to be fully compliant in everything that we do. We're not trying to scheme anything or break any laws. We just want porn performers to make more money. And porn is legal sex work in the United States, which is where we're based. There's nothing wrong with accepting money for pornographic material at this time. So we'll see. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I mean,
You are a money transmitter. And as of my knowledge, you would need for each of the states a money transmission license. So what you're doing is, as far as I know, considered in the United States an illegal money transmission mechanism.
I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure on those laws, so I'm not going to speak on anything that I don't know. But I know that we are fully compliant in everything that we do. We're not doing anything illegal. We've worked with lawyers and legislators, and we're all good.
Yeah, just make sure you're not only looking at the content side, but also in the money transmission.
Oh.
The keyword is the bit license from New York State, and there is so much trouble right now for everybody who's accepting and transmitting crypto from one place to another. Even if the content side is okay, it's just the money transmission, because this is where you really, well, threaten the bank system, and they don't like that.
Yeah, the banks rule everything, which is unfortunate. But again, I don't think that there's an issue for us there. I'll double check with you and I'll tweet something, but as far as I understand, we are fully compliant with all federal and local laws.
Thanks for your insights. I love your vision of fair trade porn, as I understand it from what you said. Of fair trade porn.
Yeah, fair trade porn.
Fair trade porn. So what is your, what are your measures? What are you doing to protect the sex workers, and also that the big companies, the big producers don't just grab again this technology and we have the same situation as it is maybe now, that there's just some big players getting lots of profits and not your vision.
Hello? Okay. So that goes back to my accessibility point, where while we want the big companies to be able to use our technology, we also are not going to discriminate against smaller content creators and independent campsite or independent content site owners. If I wanted to make a site that was just my stuff, me having sex, we wouldn't discriminate against that. We would treat everyone equally. We want we want the accessibility. We don't just want to make money because, like I said, accessibility is power, and it creates community, and it creates a way for us to sort of dismantle what we call the hierarchy, which is the hierarchy of whores, or a hierarchy that exists within sex work. It's what we call it, hierarchy. It's cute, I know. But we listen to sex worker organizations. We donate money to people like SWAP, which is the Sex Worker Outreach Project. I am personally a member of the Adult Performer Advocacy Coalition, and I'm a mentor there. I'm waiting to be assigned my mentee. But we genuinely pay attention to the smaller people, the little fish. And while we're going to work with everyone, we give a shit about people. And we're not going to let anyone get left behind. Fingers crossed.
Hi. Great talk. I haven't heard much about technical details. As far as I understand, your product deals with high loads due to high customer number. But it would be also interesting to know how you deal with that. And how do you deal with possible security attacks like DDoS attacks that target your availability and reliability as a service? How do you ensure that that works at any time, at any moment?
Yasna, help me. Like I said, I'm not the super technical person. I am an adult performer. I'm not a coder. I'm not a programmer. Seriously. Yasna here also works with Spankchain. She's a tech person. I'm deferring to her.
As far as DDoS attacks, like there's nothing special that we're doing. I mean, we auto-scale our stuff. Like we are still pretty centralized in terms of like where the actual site is hosted in our video infrastructure and stuff. So I don't have a good answer for like how to prevent DDoS attacks beyond just like how do you prevent them in general. What was the other questions specifically?
He asked, how do we make sure that our site doesn't just go down?
Yeah, so blockchains, all new, like we all heard about microservices and how they can be handled. Blockchain, at least for me, is more like a black box. And it would be interesting for me from the perspective of quality assurance, how do you make sure that you can actually cope with the load that you're generating? Like all the transactions, all the load, yeah, you get the point.
Also, it's hilarious how to cope with the load.
How do I handle that big load?
So I think if I'm understanding kind of the essence of the question is kind of how do we actually make this work on the blockchain in general. So the question there isn't so much like how do we, because blockchain's not going to go down on its own, but like how do we handle load? Is through these payment channels that Janice kind of touched on, which is the actual transactions that happen don't happen on chain, they happen alongside the chain. So like this allows for a lot of load to happen continuously for as long as you want.
Channels let us handle big loads. That's our new educational video. Thanks for
But this is really like that's the way that this actually is able to work on the blockchain, because without this it wouldn't, because as Janice mentioned, it would be like you would tip someone and then 4 minutes later that tip would go through, and it just wouldn't work. And so these payment channels are kind of the way of scaling that and of making sure that things can continue to tip even if the network is really clogged up. But I mean, it does still affect it, because like we still have to open payment channels, close payment channels, and like that's still going to take a while if the network is clogged up. But it kind of, once those channels are at least open, then that really takes off a lot of that issue. As far as staying up in any other way, there's really nothing. Like there's nothing new or novel that we're doing outside the blockchain stuff to like make sure our video infrastructure stays up or something. I mean, it's a real good video infrastructure, but like it's just
it's as secure as anything else is.
Any other question? Maybe the last one? The workshop? Are you up for workshop?
Oh, stop. Well, and that's everything.
I think that's everything. So a big applause for Janice. And thank you very much to be here and to explain this topic.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I'm a jet-laggy mess, 9 hours from where I live, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you talk about sex in a healthy and positive way. I'm going to send you all with a homework assignment. Talk about sex once with anyone. Just talk about it. Try to cultivate a healthy environment around having a sexual conversation. And it doesn't have to be like sexy or sexually charged. Just talk about it. Let's normalize sex. Thanks.
Thank you very much.